Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the SEO Domination podcast. I feel good. I'm having a good beer day. How do you feel, Megan?
I'm feeling good.
Good.
Today's a good
Um,
day.
my guest today is Megan. She's the vice president of client relations at CanIRank. Also, a very talented, very well-rounded marketer who has impressed the heck out of me at all opportunities to do so with her general knowledge of marketing and SEO in particular. So, welcome to the show, and we're going to talk about SEO considerations and replatforming, which, if you
Yes.
know anything about it, is a veritable landmine. You can completely tank your business if you do this incorrectly. And in the modern marketing economy, I think it's more of a win rather than if you have to replatform, because things change so rapidly and platforms evolve, and you find that that old TypePad blog you had in 2004 doesn't really work so well anymore for you. So you got to upgrade stuff. So I guess, let's just jump into this thing and tell me, let's start for, we kind of try to talk to people who are perhaps a little more savvy on SEO, but let's start for the noobs who may be tuning in and just tell me, what is replatforming? What are we even talking about here?
Sure. So when we're talking about replatforming, we're really talking about the software that's delivering or managing the site and kind of switching that around. So a lot of times, maybe you'll see people go from I don't know, Shopify to WordPress or WordPress to Shopify. That's just a simple example. A lot of times with a replatform, your URLs are going to change, your navigation's going to change. Really everything technical related to that may change as well. The most common ones that we see are just kind of frustrated business owners who don't have the ability to edit their site the way that they need to, or maybe a small e-commerce shop that just wants to add more products or have a better point of sale, and they don't have that right now. So
Absolutely. You'll be surprised how many of these like full service platforms don't even allow custom code injections, for instance. So that would be, that as a digital marketer, that would be enough for me to replatform right there.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're talking about basically anybody who needs to change the platform upon which their website is served for any reason. Has CanIRank had any success with replatforming people? Like, why should I care what you have to
say? Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we wouldn't be on here talking about it if we had no idea what we're doing. We have had a lot of success with working with our clients through the replatforming process. And lots of different clients, from service-based businesses to e-commerce brands, really doesn't matter. So one really good example was urbanash.com. So this was a realtor who worked with us for quite a while. And this is a good example because it's a really extreme example. They changed the domain name. They, changed their site platform. Meaning all of their URLs changed between the name of the site and actually changing the platform. And we worked with them to really plan that out. We helped them develop the new site structure. So, what is going to be in my navigation? What keywords are we going to use? What is the organization of the site? We were able to get in there and optimize the pages before launch. So it's always great to have that leg up in terms of SEO before you even launch the site. We were able to manage the technical side of things. So here we're talking about redirects and kind of all that fun. We'll get into that a little bit more later. And really doing some promotion and just kind of some strategy and planning for after the migration as well. And they saw a brief dip for a few weeks, which is super common with migrations. You pretty much always expect that. But within about 3 to 4 months, they had triple the traffic that they had before. Wow. And this is, So replatforming can really be a wonderful thing for a business as long as it's done correctly.
So you're telling me that I shouldn't wait until after I replatform to start thinking about the implications on traffic? You heard it here first, folks. Don't wait. So, that begs the question then, at what point in the process should I involve someone who has some SEO experience in terms of thinking through what are the implications of doing these changes?
Sure. So honestly, I would say as early as possible. And I guess, maybe you're thinking that's easy for you to say because this is what you do. But really, a lot of the decisions that are going to be made early on in this planning process will affect SEO. It'll affect SEO in that you're working on right now, and it'll affect it in the future, far into the future, depending upon how long you plan to use this as your new website. So getting an SEO involved very early on in the process is pretty crucial, even if you only decide to consult with them or something along those lines. And some of the reasons for that is just, even the platform that you're choosing could have an impact on your SEO. How customizable is it? What is the default URL structure, and are we able to change those things? How are you going to organize the site? All of those things are super early decisions that SEO, there's a huge impact there. So we want to be a part of that decision-making process.
Sure. So your marketing team, and in particular your SEO experts, really need a seat at the table for this. Mm-hmm. I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of marketers approach this as more of a branding issue or more of a collateral issue, like a design issue, as opposed to a real hardcore marketing issue. I think that might be incorrect because of the level of sort of technical approach that needs to be considered in order to make sure you don't tank your traffic while doing it. So
yeah, I think there's a lot going on there, and like you said, the way you phrased it, just having a seat at that table, being able to collaborate with the in-house marketing team and the development team and the designer, and being a part of that conversation is just so important.
Yeah, because it's not just link structure. I think when designers are uploading images and working on the structure and the look of the site, they need to be thinking about all sorts of things that average marketers who are not SEO brains don't think about, like alt tags and image titles, and there's all sorts of considerations. So early and often. All right. Well, listen. Tell me how to do this then. If we're going to talk about, can you give me maybe a top of the heap? Like, what's the single most important factor to consider?
Sure. So when you're replatforming, if you do nothing else and you don't consult an SEO for anything else at all, your redirects. Please get your redirects correct. Redirecting. So basically what happens, why do you need a redirect? If you're changing your URL structure at all, if you're eliminating pages, if you have products that maybe, you're not going to keep them, you're going to move your blog, whatever that is. If that URL structure is changing or going away, we need to redirect those pages. Redirects are really important because, your rankings are tied to those pages. You have links pointing to those pages, which are super important and really hard to earn. So you would never want to lose any of the kind of the power that they're bringing to your site. In terms of kind of some of the technical things there, we always recommend to do 301 redirects, not 302s, because a 301 is a permanent redirect, a 302 is temporary. So always 301. Where you can use regular expressions for redirects, and it's just going to, help you with your number of required redirections. So basically, if you're kind of new to this and you're thinking about it, you have a list of all the URLs on your current site, and then you have a list of what all the new URLs are going to be on your new site, and you need to map them one-to-one or to the closest sort of related page. And sometimes this can get really, really cumbersome because maybe it's a really big website, you've got a ton of products, maybe a ton of content, and so that's when, if you can use regular expressions, it's a good kind of shortcut there. And sort of the next thing then is, even with the best redirect plan, things are going to slip through the cracks. So after you replatform and you launch your new site, you really, really want to be watching Search Console closely, seeing if you're getting, some errors. Make sure, you have a user-friendly 404 page. So what is that? A 404 page is kind of, if you've ever gone to a website and they say like, whoops, it's not here anymore, or this product is all gone. That page should be able to direct your user back to another relevant product or back to the home page, wherever you want to send them. So just some tricks there. But I would absolutely say redirects. I think sometimes they get overlooked. I think, you know, it's been my experience that they can get overlooked in the development process if you don't have an SEO kind of on your side there. So I would absolutely make sure that those are done correctly.
Have I lost my audio?
I can hear you now.
All right, good. So, yeah, this is wonky internet audio video thing. So you know, that's a lot of really technical stuff. So I botched this all up. I've already messed it up. What do I do now?
Oh boy. Okay. So a few things to look for. A lot of times what happens, especially for maybe someone running a smaller website, if you're kind of a sole proprietor, you have a small business, you're not sure that you've messed up your replatforming. So some things that may indicate an issue, you know, looking in Search Console and looking for errors. You all of a sudden have a big influx of 404 errors or some things there. You're going to see after a little bit of time, a major loss in rankings, if you're tracking rankings, some pages that are dropping out of the index, so your number of index pages, and then, of course, impressions of your site and traffic in general, organic traffic. The one caveat there is that a small dip after a replatform is pretty normal. We expect to see that. It's kind of a shock to the system, right? Like it's a big deal. Like you just kind of made all of these changes, and so usually we do see a little bit of a dip. But major and persistent losses in rankings and traffic is you know, obviously an issue. And sometimes we also see an impact on conversions because, you know, hey, maybe we got the redirects right, and, you know, we got kind of all that technical stuff right, but we didn't get the user experience end of it right. And they're not able to navigate properly through the site, or they're just really not kind of understanding your calls to action or finding what they're looking for. So that's kind of a part of it as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's say that you've diagnosed that your replatforming just didn't go well. I would say, again, often it's the redirects. So that there was a miss there. So what you want to try to do is mitigate your loss. Can you still do the redirections, and can you save your, we call it link juice. So the links that we're pointing to those pages, can you save them? Going through and trying to kind of work through that. Oftentimes an SEO consultant or agency can help you with that. So that would be really step one. You know, another thing would be looking at your backlink profile for dead links. So were there links there that existed that just aren't there anymore, or they're not, they weren't redirected, or we can't redirect them now. So sometimes you can reach out to those people and try to get that changed. And, you know, honestly, sometimes it's so bad that you might have to head back to the drawing board, start reviewing your information architecture, which is really kind of like the layout of your site. It's time for a new link building campaign or promotion campaign to try to kind of recoup some of what you lost. You know, and it really can be quite detrimental if you've botched it, but you can work through it. It will take time, and you will need to engage, I would say, a technical SEO to kind of help you through some of this.
All right. Well, that sort of leads me to another question. I'm going to show it on screen here. Henry wants to know, what tools do you recommend using during a replatform? I think it's actually a great question, because a lot of what you just said about checking link structure and stuff may not be intuitive to everyone. Right.
Okay. So I would say, in terms of looking for issues, okay, so if you're looking for errors, you're looking for issues with your traffic, the two easiest things that you can use there are Google Search Console and Google Analytics. They're free tools. They're easy to install. If you have a website, you should definitely be using them and have them installed on your site. So that's kind of number one. I would say then the second thing, if you're going to dive into kind of some more of this technical stuff, where you're going to try to plan out your redirects, Screaming Frog is an amazing tool. It's a spider. It's an SEO spider. I know it has a funny name. And
I think
what
that's
that
just about the
does,
raddest name I've ever heard.
yeah, yeah, right. So it's amazing software. What it does is it crawls your site, just like Google or another search engine would. And it spits out just this huge report of all of your URLs and any errors that it finds, your titles, your meta descriptions, your H1s, your image sizes, anything you can think of. It spits this all out. And I know that may sound a little intimidating if you're not sure what you're looking at, but there's lots of tutorials and things like that. So Screaming Frog is amazing. It can crawl your current site. It can crawl a site while it's in development. It's really the best thing to use if you are kind of looking to plan out these redirects yourself. And really just kind of doing a technical audit of your site, understanding what's happening on it today, and then post-launch, what's happening on it after the fact. If you're looking for some more link information or rank checking, things like that, I mean, I love the CanIRank tool. That's awesome to use. Lots and lots of good information there. And we also use tools like Ahrefs a lot. That's really good at looking at your backlink profile as well.
Cool. So I've done all of that. I'm complete with my replatforming. I'm done, right? There's nothing else for me to do.
No, no.
What else do I need to do?
Okay. So once your replatforming is done, you've kind of flipped the switch, right? You've launched your new beautiful site. I would say you're going to want to audit for technical issues or really any issues. So you're going to want to be checking in Search Console. You're going to be checking in analytics. You're going to be crawling the site, again, using Screaming Frog, like I mentioned, or maybe another crawler, and just kind of monitoring and seeing what's happening, because it does take some time for some of the errors to come through, or for us to really kind of recognize what's going on. We at CanIRank have a whole pre and post launch checklist and real audit process that we go through to kind of make sure that things are working and just kind of the way we would expect them to be. Beyond that, then you really need to start getting into some fresh content and fresh promotion, on the new site to really show Google that this is, the place people want to be. It's where they want to buy that new pair of shoes or that supplement, or want to learn about sleep health, whatever that is. Fresh content and fresh links really are huge indicators to Google. Google wants to see them kind of going out. They want to, we want to get them indexed, and we want to get them ranking. So we can't just stop there. We can't just flip the switch and say, well, everything's going to be better now because I've got this new site. You have to kind of continue your SEO and your content and PR strategy beyond just your replatforming. And that strategy is really going to support you. I know we talked a little bit about that dip right after launch. So that like post-launch dip, it usually lasts a few weeks. This here, that's going to support you. That's going to get you out of that dip faster. And it's going to really make your results just sort of exponentially better if you're kind of doing those things right as you launch as well.
Yeah, so this is a technical task, but it's not entirely technical. It's like everything else. You have to support it with coherent strategy and the doing of things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is something to consider about replatforming in general as well. Platforms are not magic. Some are better than others. They're not all created equal, but ultimately, if you put bad content on a really good platform, it's still going to stink, So we got to always be cognizant of those things. So that's great, man. That's really fantastic information. I feel like I personally learned a lot sitting here listening to you talk about that. So I want to do two things before we go. One,
sure.
I want to let all these really cool people on the podcast ask us some questions. And two, I want to give you just a minute to talk about whatever you want to talk about. We can be your company, your job, this whatever you have going on. Because I'm really appreciative of you coming on and being on the show. So here's your minute. Everybody, go ahead and queue up your questions. I'm going to give Megan a minute to say whatever she wants. So ready, set, go.
Say whatever I want. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like John mentioned earlier, I'm the VP of Client Services with CanIRank. I absolutely love, working with CanIRank, and I will say we're probably the most honest, forthcoming group of SEOs that you'd ever really get a chance to work with. It's pretty tremendous, the depth of knowledge and talent that we have on our team. So I feel super grateful for that and for that opportunity. And on a more personal note, I don't know how many of you out there have kids and are getting into that summer schedule, but man, it has been tough. Oh. So definitely feeling the struggle right now. Just kind of getting everybody transitioned onto new schedules. So, you know, may the force be with you if you're with me on that one.
Dude, I have 2 kids, and one of them's an artist and one of them's a volleyball player. So I've got they're at like different camps all day. So I have to like it's craziness. All right. Yes. Well, I don't see any further comments, so I think you're off the hook. Which means I know what it means. It means that you so thoroughly explained the topic that no one could possibly conceive of a question to ask you that you didn't already cover. So I'm going to consider that a win. And listen, true professional, wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me. And I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad we got to talk a little bit about replatforming. And if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I wouldn't have said it's one of my favorite topics. But at this point, it's definitely one of my favorite topics.
Outstanding. Well, listen, Grumpy Cat says what's up. And I just want all you guys to know it's Friday. Go out there and have a great weekend. Be safe. It's getting hot. And do some SEO stuff. And if you need help, you know who to ask. So hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Take it easy.